Welcome to this week's episode of I Didn't Sign Up for This. My name is Caitlin Nillis and I am your host. I am recording this episode on Friday, so the Friday before it's going to come out. Usually I'm more on top of the podcast, like not by a lot, but at least I'm at least on time. Usually I need to submit my episode by Thursday, and I just had a very busy day yesterday and just could not bring myself to record. So we're just going to do it right now. Welcome to this week's episode of I Didn't Sign Up for This. My name is Caitlin Nillis and I am your host. I was thinking a lot about this and I obviously have a lot to say, but really when it comes down to it, the one thing that I didn't sign up for this week is just how expensive everything is. And I know that everyone in the United States, at least probably the world, can relate to what I'm saying right now. Like the cost of groceries are so expensive. I used to think when my oldest was a baby and she was exclusively formula fed from the time she was like 4 weeks old, I remember being like, we are spending almost $150 a month on formula. And I just remember being like, this is so expensive. Like, this is as expensive as it's ever going to get. And now she's almost 7 and we are just like blowing through food. It is wild to me. And then obviously the price of food has gone up. And I don't feel like we are buying a lot of food. Like Cody is living here now, but like we split groceries 50-50. And I'm just like, we're just blowing through food. By the end of the week, it's like there's almost like nothing to eat. It's wild. So that was one thing that I did not sign up for. And also like with groceries, like I don't buy organic everything. Like as much as I would want to, it's like I can't afford it. It is like 3 times as expensive. I was at the store yesterday and I was buying strawberries, and strawberries, like non-organic strawberries, was like $4.99 for like a 16 ounce. It was just like a small container. And then for organic, it was $8. So it was twice as expensive. Strawberries just go like this in our house. Like they're gone within like a couple of days. When I was growing up, I used to think, oh, if I make $100,000 a year, I'm set. Like I'm going on multiple vacations a year. I can live in this a big mansion. I can have boats. I could have this and I can have that and this and that. Maybe that was true 30 years ago when I was growing up, but it's definitely not the case now. The other thing that is kind of going on in life right now is my oldest, she's about to have a birthday in a couple of weeks. So we're having a birthday party for her. And it's interesting to me because she's at an age where we have recently started paying to have a birthday party somewhere. So we're doing a trampoline park this year. When I went to go and book the trampoline park, we actually did it last year, but she just didn't have as many friends, I guess, because she was just getting into kindergarten and she just had like a few friends. Now that she's been in school for a while, she's in first grade, she has a lot more friends. And we're kind of in this like weird spot where I'm like, wait a minute, like, are we supposed to invite her entire class to this party? There's 32 kids in her class. And at the trampoline park, it's $25 a person. So I don't know. I mean, and that's not including her friends that don't go to her school, her cousins that she's really good friends with. They're like basically her friends. They're not like really, they're her cousins, but like they're her friends. Like she wants to invite them. And it's like, okay, this party's going to cost us over $500 and we're not going to do gift bags because the rule that we have in our family that we just started is we will do gift bags for if we're having a party at our house. But if we are going somewhere like a trampoline park or indoor playground or something like that, no gift bags. Like the gift is just going to have that activity. And then my daughter was like kind of disappointed, but that was kind of hard to like have that conversation with her, honestly, because it feels uncomfortable to start talking about money. I know it's important to, but you don't want your child to think like you don't have money, because we do, but it's also like we're not going to spend another $50 or whatever. I just sound like such a cheapskate, honestly. But I'm in this I'm having this dilemma. Do we invite her whole class to the party, which is 32 kids, or do we just kind of keep it hush hush and only invite her really close friends? But also I don't have the phone numbers of all of her close friends that she met at school this year. And I've given her like a little post-it note with my phone number and told her, give these to your friends and have their mom and have them give it to their mom so her mom can text me. But I haven't gotten text from a couple of the moms. I was able to track a few of them down, but I don't want anyone to feel left out, and I don't want that to go on to my daughter. I did tell my daughter, don't talk about your party at school, but that also feels icky. Like the whole situation just feels icky. And it's kind of making me lean towards, like, I don't know. We don't have a big enough house for like that many kids. We don't have a big backyard where we can do a bounce house. And so I feel that's why we have been going somewhere, because they're old enough where like we need to have like an actual activity. But it's just too expensive. We can't invite everyone. So I don't know. I'm stuck like in this dilemma. What do we do? That's another thing I didn't sign up for and didn't really know or understand before I became a parent, was just like navigating kid birthday parties and like friendships. It's hard. Okay. Other life updates. Man, life has been so busy recently. I mean, we're in Q4. I'm a small business owner. This is my first holiday season of selling product, my own product. So I'm really excited because I don't really know what to expect. Everyone says that obviously it's the busiest time of year, but a lot of companies apparently do like most of their business just in Q4. So I've really been prepping for that. I have 2 new products that are launching in the next few weeks. I actually got news that my crossbody bag was delivered on a limited quantity. I don't have my full stock in my full order in stock, just partial right now. But I got that news, which was very exciting. And then I have a sweat set that I'm also launching as well. So a top and bottom matching 2-piece set. You can buy them as separates, but they're really meant to go together. It just like looks really nice. So I'm really excited for those 2 products to launch. But I've just been really busy. And then like if you are someone who is in the content creation space, working with brands, that's obviously like a big part of like how you make money. I feel like you'll have nothing and then you'll have everything. So I was just in a lull where like we were in talks or we had contracts for like future things, and now everything's happening at once, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, all this is happening on top of my launch, on top of my daughter's birthday, on top of Halloween, on top of holidays coming. I just got off a girls trip. We're going to talk about that, and Cody and I are going to go on our first like vacation, just us, since our honeymoon in 2012. So, yeah, for 12 years, we've never gone on a trip, just us. So we're going to do that. We're going to go away for a few days in November. It's just like all these things at once. So life feels very busy and overwhelming. And I know I've talked about this so many times on the podcast. So I don't want to sound like negative or I'm just like beating a dead horse, but life often feels like just moving from one task to another. And it's really hard. And it's really hard to connect with your kids. It's really hard to connect with your partner. It's really hard to connect with friends. And that kind of leads me into the topic that I wanted to dig into today. I just got back from a girls' trip last week, and it was a weekend trip. We went to Texas, flew into Houston, and then we drove down to Wimberley, Texas. So there's some wineries down there, and we stayed in this really cute cabin in the woods, and it was so fun and very much needed. But I got a lot of DMs from people or comments on the post about the girls' trip, is like, how do you make mom friends? When you become a mom, it's like it's you're in this awkward stage because you go from having complete autonomy over your life and like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis to literally having a child, another person with you 24/7 who has 24/7 needs. And so it's hard. So I wanted to talk about it. First, going to talk about my personal experience with making mom friends. It's kind of funny because when I had my first daughter, I was 27 years old, and none of my close friends growing up in high school were married or had kids. So I was really the first one. And I feel like once I became a mom, my life was so different from the people that I went to high school with. It was just really hard to not only like connect with them, but I also feel like when you go from having no kids again to having a child that needs you 24/7 and you're trying to navigate that whole thing, like you just don't have a lot of free time. And so it's really hard to keep up with the friendships that you did have before becoming a mom because you're navigating this whole new part of life and motherhood and how to all the things that come with that. And so it's very easy to lose touch with the friends that you do have. And I didn't have any friends or close friends that also had babies. So it's not like we were on this journey together. I don't really feel like I could relate to those friends. They were doing things that I was no longer doing. I was doing things that they weren't doing. I was going to play dates. I was reading parenting books. I was like doing all those things. Like our lives are just so different. So that was kind of my first experience, like losing friends and kind of just like thinking about it. And I think that's one reason why women can feel so isolated when they become mothers is because you're not always on the same timeline as your friends. So when my first daughter was born, we lived with my mom in her basement. Cody was a student at the time. I was working and we were living in a neighborhood that I grew up in, but it was an older neighborhood. Like there weren't a lot of young families. The moms that did live in that neighborhood that had little kids, like we just didn't have a lot in common because my husband was a student. I was working part-time and we were just like on two like different economic levels, I would say. um Not that that can make someone not be friends, but it just wasn't, it was hard to find those friends in that area to begin with. And then second of all, it's like we're just living, it felt like we were just living two different lives. So didn't really have any friends in that neighborhood. I love that neighborhood in general because I mean, I grew up there. It was great, but there weren't any young families that had little kids that I could like connect with. And so, man, this seems like the most boring story in the world. So then COVID happened. We were still living with my mom. And then during COVID, we moved into our current neighborhood that we live in now. I love this neighborhood. When we moved in, though, it was during COVID. It was June of 2020, so things were kind of sort of getting back to normal. But I was pregnant at the time. I was like 8 months pregnant, and then I had a newborn baby, and I was still being very cautious about COVID and the pandemic because there were so many things that were unknown. There wasn't a vaccine at the time. And I was just like in a new environment. And I'm also not a member of the Mormon religion anymore. If you're part of any religion, like you have an automatic community, especially I feel like in the Mormon religion. That's one thing that I really miss about being a member of the church is the community that you get when you go to church and you have youth activities and relief society and like all the things. Like when you're not a member of the church, you feel like you're a little bit not an outcast. That's not the right word, but you're just removed. When you're not a member of the church, you're just kind of removed from that. And it's harder to make friends, especially because the church is so prominent in the state that most people are part of that and already have like their group of friends that are part of the church. And not to say you can't have those friends, but it's like they already have their friends and you don't go to church. Like you don't have like those same things that like you can relate with them on. And so it's not a perfect match. And then the other thing I think that has really affected my mom friendships is the fact that I've always been a working mom. I've always held a job outside of the home. And anyone who works outside of the home, especially if you have to commute to an office, your entire day is consumed with getting the kids ready, getting them off to school or daycare, going into the office, leaving the office, picking up the kids, like playing catch up because the hours of pickup don't coincide with the office hours. So a lot of the time, like you are taking your laptop home and then working after the kids go to bed. Or working for an hour or two after the kids come home before dinner. And then after you're off work, it's like you're making dinner and now you have homework and our daughter she has to wear an eye patch for a couple of hours a day right now. And we don't always feel comfortable. Like, I don't know. That's like my own thing. I don't feel comfortable taking her out because I don't want people looking at her weird or asking questions and making her feel insecure about it. Like I know I'm like projecting that situation, but anyway. So it's hard when you're a working mom because you just don't have a lot of free time. And not to say that stay-at-home moms have free time because their job, I feel like, is so much more challenging in so many different ways, but you don't have time for play dates. you literally have no time for play dates. And by the time you get home and you do all the things, you're so completely exhausted that you just kind of want to go to bed and like turn your brain off or scroll your phone or turn on the TV. Like I don't, and I know everyone's different, but like for me, like I don't have the mental energy to go out and like socialize all the time or like have a play date at 7 o'clock at night until 8:30, and then you're like doing bedtime. Like it's just a lot. So I do feel like that's one thing that really affected my friendships, or my ability to make mom friends once I became a mom. And that's really hard. It's really hard because he's just like almost like you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. Um, okay. So now that I have explained my personal experience with mom friends, how have I been able to make mom friends? I have a few local, I would consider them like my really close friends. And I've met them through my job, through my daughter's dance, other dance moms. How else? Oh, and my neighborhood, just like all over. And I feel like the way that you make a mom friend is the stars just have to align. The stars just have to completely align where you can relate to them. You're in the same kind of season of life. Maybe you have kids that are very similar ages. Like you just have to have like almost like that instant connection. It sounds silly to say because it kind of sounds like, oh, like when you're going out on a date with someone, like, do you have a connection with them? That's kind of how it is with mom friends, because you can meet someone at the park and like they're lovely and they're nice and you talk to them and they're great, but like, it's just not, there's not like that extra, like, oof. That's at least been my experience. So the friends that I do have, I feel like it was almost like that instant friendship where I feel like we just got each other from like the get go. And that's probably why I don't have a lot of mom friends. Because I'm like, and like the other thing about mom friends is that the type of friends that I have in my life, they're amazing because we just understand each other. It's like we will have a time to have a play date that, of course, we schedule like a month in advance, 2 months, 3 months in advance, and then something will happen. A kid will get sick, or like something comes up at work, or like it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. The friends that I do have are the people who get it. I am a person who gets it. If you cancel plans on me last minute, like I got you. Like it's okay. I understand. Don't stress about it. Take care of whatever you need to take care of. And then we'll find another time to get together. It might be in a month. We might see each other like at the grocery store or dance drop off or whatever. But like it's all good. Like I'm a very low maintenance friend. And the friends that I have connected with and have continued to stay in touch with over the years are also very low maintenance friends. I don't have the capacity to be the friend that's always on the doorstep, that's always like, I mean, of course, like if something devastating happened or like that person really need me, I'm there. Like I'm your girl. But like on a day-to-day basis, like I'm not, I don't have it in me with the season of life that I'm in to nurture that type of relationship, if that makes sense. And God, that like, as I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, God, that just like makes me sound like such a shitty person and like maybe I am a shitty friend. I don't know. But like, I feel like with the relationships I do have, I don't feel like they view me that way. So anyway, I think that just like adds to why it's really tricky and hard to have mom friends. The other way that I've made mom friends is online. Obviously, I'm a content creator. I started posting online 4 years ago after my second daughter was born during the pandemic. I've naturally just made friends in this space with other content creators, and then also other people who are not content creators, who are small business owners, are just like average moms, working moms, like people that I have connected with who constantly show up in my DMs. And I feel like I have made like a relationship with those people where I literally consider those people my friends, even though I've never met them in real life. We've only had like a few conversations like here and there back and forth. Like I literally feel like those people are my friends. And I feel like it's the same thing. It's like when you just connect with someone, there's like something about that person that you're just like, oh, like I can fully be myself. Like they're cool. I can fully be myself. We have all this in common. I feel like you just know. So I have made a lot of friends online. I just went on this girls trip with 3 other mom friends / creators that are in this space. I had someone ask me, they're like, oh, like you go on all these influencer trips. And I'm like, this was just like, of like a girls trip. We literally got nothing out of it. No one paid us to do it. We paid our own way. It's not like we were there to like network between our following. That wasn't the intention. The intention was we literally just want to hang out with each other. These moms are so cool, and I'm so blessed that I feel like they are part of my community. They're part of my life. They know so much about me, and I only have met them like a couple times in real life, and I want to continue to like nurture other relationships in this space, because you don't just have to have friends just in your local area. And that also might be why the relationship works so good, because not only like do we vibe, we're cool, like we just like understand each other, but they're also those low maintenance friends where obviously we don't live close to each other. So it's not like we can just hop down the street and like hang out. So one thing that really was hard for me when I first became a mom and when I wasn't in this creator space in the way that I am now, I remember going on social media and seeing other women who were moms who had like this big group of girls, and they were like all best friends, and they would like go to dinner together, and they would like go on trips together, and all their husbands were friends, and it was just like this big happy family of friends. And I remember just feeling like so envious of that because I never really had that. And I just want to say that I think that is not typical. I don't think it's typical for people to have these big, large group of friends that are hanging out all the time, that are doing all the things, right? I also feel like it's probably played up like in social media. We're obviously only seeing those people's highlights. Like, of course, we're going to see when they go to dinner with their friends and like when they go on a trip. But it's like the assumption that a consumer makes is like these people are hanging out all the time. They're the best of friends, are doing all the things. Like, I want that. I'm envious of that. How do I get that? I don't have that. I would just say, like, just be careful with what you consume online, and just know that one, if that's their experience, like they're kind of the exception. Two, if that is the case, like you don't know what's really going on. Like they're probably not hanging out all the time. Like everyone who is a mom is really busy. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. Everyone is busy. And so you don't know how often they're actually getting together. It may only be once a year. It may only be twice a year, whatever. And so just be careful not to compare yourself online. I do feel like having mom friends is essential. I say essential, it's obviously not essential, but like I do feel like it's essential like for your mental health. When you have someone in your life and like that you can call and you can rely on, that you can vent to, that you feel like gets it and understands and is going to validate you and say, yeah, this is hard, like let's get through it. Like when you have those types of female relationships in your life, it honestly changes things for you. You need someone outside of your partner to be like that friend. So, how do you actually make mom friends? Let's say anyone looking for advice. I'm not an expert. I'm just a person here. But this is what I would say. You have to put yourself out there. When you're at the park, you have to like go up and talk to mom friend, like another mom, and you don't have to make it weird. You have to kind of step outside of your comfort zone. And maybe that friend doesn't end up, or that person you're talking to doesn't end up being your friend. You don't end up exchanging phone numbers. But after you do that and kind of just get into the rhythm of putting yourself out there in that way, eventually you're going to find your people. Again, like I feel very strongly that you just have to have that person that you just like click with. Another idea is that I know that there's lots of Facebook groups locally, so you can like do a mom meetup, or I know that they have like different things like that. There's also an app called Peanut, and they will connect you with other moms in your areas that are in similar stages of life. I actually, when I had my first daughter, there was this influencer that I was following pretty closely at the time, and she had a promotion with this app, Peanut. And I remember going on there, and I don't know if it's different now because this was back in 2017, 2018, but it literally just looked almost like a dating profile. Like this is like the person, like you would create a profile and then like people could message you and see if you want to hang out and like become mom friends. I didn't end up going through with it because I think you had to pay money. And I think I was just like, we were just so broke at the time. I was just like, no. And I think I was just scared. It's really hard to put yourself out there and be vulnerable, because I think the assumption is that you think like, oh, this person has mom friends, they don't need another one. But I think you'd be surprised. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I don't know if it was, to be honest with you. I hope it was. But yeah, go out there and make some mom friends. And if you can't make mom friends in person, at least make some online. You can be my friend. Send me a DM, reach out to me on the podcast page, or you can reach out to me on my creator page, Honestly Caitlin. Let's be mom friends. And also, don't forget to leave a review. That helps the podcast so much. If you can leave a review, rate it, share it with a friend. It really does help the podcast a lot. And that's the number one way that you can support me in this space. So, okay. Well, thanks for listening, you guys. And we will talk next week.